What's up guys, it's Drac, and it's time for another Top 5 Friday video. Why are we making it on Saturday? Well, I have some reasons for you. So we're doing it this way, and we're making it on Saturday because of a couple of things. One, the workshop flooded. That happens during periods of very heavy rain down here. There's nothing that I could do about it, so I just sat there with a shop vac and worked on it, and finally got it clean, but that evaporated a lot of time. And then I've been meaning to do this video for a while, and it was a perfect excuse, and also I'm not feeling super duper well, so I can do this one a lot easier than like pulling stuff out and being downstairs where it's kind of cold and kind of damp right now. I can sit warm and cozy in my office and tell you about the top 5 blasters that Hasbro doesn't want you to know about, or the top 5 blasters that never got released, at least as intended originally. So what are we doing? Well, we're looking at some prototype images, and we started here because what better way to start with this giant Nerf logo and this Doomlanders dude. So a lot of these photos are actually my photos that I took when I was up hanging at Hasbro HQ, and so we've got a few different looks at prototypes from there, but this is one of the signs that greets you, and it's just really, really cool. It's a combination of Elite darts, old Streamline darts, and you've got nothing better to do with those anyway, and you can tell, looking here, that these are Mega darts as well, so that's a pretty cool way to start. On to the list. So this is the #1 blaster in my opinion. This is the Hammer Shot, but it's not quite the Hammer Shot, right? So if you check it out here, we have the orange priming handle and the trigger that we recognize, as well as a funky fresh kind of handle that looks a lot like a 5x5 or a Sweet Revenge handle, and then a far more elite profile and streamlined shell, giving us an actual elite Hammer Shot. I think that it looks absolutely boss. This is an entirely made of resin model here. You can see this is the other side, gives you a really good look at it in profile. It's non-functional, it's just a big old brick of resin, but the Elite Hammer Shot should have existed. I wish that it had. Instead we got a Rebel version that used this handle and clip system down at the bottom, and then we got the Zombie Strike version. Now this is kind of a size comparison to a regular Hammer Shot, showing that a few things did have to be upscaled, and then this is a special version that is kind of like an early version of the Zombie Strike Hammer Shot, done in foam with some slightly movable parts inside, and I thought that this just looked absolutely sweet with the deco on it. Like, how very, very cool is this? I wish that it had looked like this originally. If we had done away with the cloth wrap, I think that this overall aesthetic is much nicer, but you can see the startings down here of the sort of clip attachment point, or belt clip attachment point, or bandolier attachment point, sling point that we have in the final version. And then moving on, this is our #2 blaster that should have been released but wasn't released, but then eventually kind of became released. So this is my friend Rob of SB&C mocked this up a long time ago. I want to say at least 3 years ago, and this is his idea of what a Mega shotgun should look like. So he called this the Hex Shot, and it has 6 Mega darts, and it was going to function a lot like a rough cut. So for those of you that are Photoshop savvy, you could easily steal this image, break it down, and take apart the lines, but it's a bunch of Mega styling with vague Thunderbow inspiration up here, and then this is of course just a regular rough cut handle upscaled and a rough cut pump grip. So I thought that this would be really, really sweet. Well, sure enough, then we got the Mega Twin Shock, and now we have it. So this is, of course, 2 Thunderbows. Instead of inspired by Thunderbows, it's actually 2 Thunderbows because there's going to be 10 shots. And it has a slightly different pump system, but it also looks very, very rough cut inspired. So that is our #2 thing, is the Hex Shot, which wound up kind of being made eventually, and that's a funny theme with a lot of these things. So here's of course our #3. This is the Redshift CS12, and it's from the Nerf video game way back when we used that with the Wiimote. And obviously there's a lot of inspiration here. So this looks a lot like a long shot scope. We have a long barrel, and then we have a magazine port here, as well as this kind of funky stock, and it looks like a sniper rifle, right? The CS12. Well, then we of course get the long strike itself, and the similarities are pretty staggering there, right? Now the long strike does break itself apart and doesn't have the same kind of scope, but very similar profile, very similar styling, and that's kind of what became of the Redshift, is it became the long strike and then eventually made its way to production. Now this is the big one, and we've got it here at #4 that I think that confuses a lot of people. So this is again another video game gun from the Nerf Wii game, but this is the Spartan NCS, and you can see it was designed to be fully automatic, had a 12 dart capacity, and had burst fire modes and all sorts of cool stuff going on. It's got the Elite or In-Strike original pinpoint sight up here, and what does it kind of look like to you guys? Well, to me it kind of looks like a Stampede, but the real telling factor here is that this is one of my photos, and you can see this prototype, which we're looking at here, is called the Spartan HFE model. Now, it says that it's electric and manual, similar to the Vulcan, and it's called the Spartan, so what does that mean? Well, that's the Spartan, right? You pulled this out of the video game, you turned it into a concept, and then you can see kind of in prototyping here as we go along, this is just a recon with a giant gearbox attached to it, and a switch that allows you to switch between not only on, but also automatic and single fire. So, what is that? Well, eventually, this winds up being turned into the Stampede. The Stampede is, of course, one of my favorite full autos. It's in the top 5 full auto list, and it's a really, really sweet blaster. Came with a shield and a bunch of 18 sticks, but the fun thing that a lot of us like to forget is when it was originally teased, it came with this guy. So this was a 50 dart drum magazine, and I can tell you why this doesn't exist. I actually don't think I'm allowed to tell you why the drum doesn't exist, but there was a point in time where the drum should have existed, and so the drum didn't end up winding up being a reality, which is kind of a shame because it's a really cool concept. But we did get the Stampede, which means that in some small way the Spartan NCS 12 does live on, from prototype all the way through to reality. That's pretty cool. And then the last one on the list is not very exciting. It's just a Whiteout series Spectre. I really like the Whiteout line, and I honest to goodness can't remember if this is a real concept that they were working on, or if this is just a very, very clever mock-up by our Photoshop wizard Rob of SBNC, who is not super duper active in the community anymore, but did a lot of these kind of Photoshop troll jobs back in the day. So I think that this one was going to be real at one point. It looks a lot like the box art, which is why I suspected that it could have been a Rob mock-up, but we did get an In-Strike Spectre and of course the Elite Spectre, but we never got the Whiteout version, which is kind of a pity. We did get a Whiteout Long Strike though, so that was pretty cool. Then this is, I guess, my question. If you enjoyed this video and you know who this dude is, or I guess you'll be seeing it like this. So if you know who this dude is, comment down below. I feel like nobody's gonna get it, but the first person who correctly tells me what this machine is, I will pin your comment to the top and like the bejesus out of it, because it is really, really like a niche piece of trivia. But this is one of my absolute favorite photos on my phone. And then I made this video mostly because I've really wanted to make this video for a while and correct a lot of these things that people have misconceptions about, but one of them is that some kid who I think just made this out of ignorance stated that this was going to be a Doomlands rifle, and he had a bunch of my photos, which is crazy, but this is actually just concepts for the Slingfire. So if we go through, you can see that the Slingfire originally had clipazine storage in the back, and it was pretty ornate, pretty detailed, similar to that hammer shot photo that I showed you, but these are just some of the mock-ups. They are very, very cool. You can see kind of how it fits in my hand there, and a close-up of some of that deco. Again, I think that some of these models wind up looking way nicer than the eventual production models for the blasters themselves, but these are just Slingfire mock-ups. To call it something that it isn't is a little silly, but I don't think that it was done out of malice. And then this is just one thing that I'm really curious about. This is one of those In-Strike video game blasters. This is the Hydra, and I'm trying to think and decide if there's some way that I could build something like this out of the various parts. So this reminds me slightly of a Lawbringer stock. This looks like a Maverick handle, and then this front end here reminds me a little bit of a Vulcan. So I'm still kind of thinking about this one, but one day if I make a Hydra, now those of you who are very dedicated viewers will know that the inspiration is from the video game, and then actually this image. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate your support on the top 5s, even if they are on Saturday sometimes, but I've got a lot of ideas from you. If you have any more ideas for top 5s, be sure to let me know in the comment section below, and I will get back to you, because I intend to make the top 5 Friday videos for as long as you guys enjoy them. So thank you very much. Much love, Nerf on, Drac out.